Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here today, kicking off a HUD's new initiative. First, let's start with my name is Layla Finucane, President and CEO of Victory Housing. Today, we're happy to welcome the Secretary of Fudge from HUD, Mayor Bowser. Councilmember Bonds is also here. And just very excited to be here today to kick off HUD's new initiative, Our Way Home. It's really, I think, great, really amazing to stand here and have the chance to actually thank the federal and local leaders who make this sort of project, this sort of community development possible. Here at Spring Flats, Victory Housing, with our partners, Brinshaw and Bank of America CDC, we have worked on redeveloping 3 acres of previously vacant property. One was the former Hebrew home for the aged, one was the Paul Robeson School. These 2 previously vacant properties now revitalized, transformed into 88 units of affordable senior housing. Absolutely. 87 units of mixed income housing, truly mixed income. 29 units, market rate units targeted towards workforce affordability. The rest, 58 units, affordable at 50% of area median income and under. So true affordability and a mixed income community here at the Robeson, which is an amenity-rich building near recreation center. It'll be near a new school that is being redeveloped by the district. So all of these things making it an amazing community. And on top of it, we have 10 units of homeownership also built in. 3 of those affordable to people at 100% of area median income. So that is the sort of like the trifecta. You've got the senior housing, the mixed income housing for families and individuals, and then home ownership. The reason we did this here is because that's part of our mission. So Victory Housing, we've been around for over 40 years. We're an affiliated corporation of the Archdiocese, and what we do is we work primarily on affordable senior housing, also for families, and we work on delivering the services to those communities. With 34 communities now, we have been working at this challenge for a long time, and I have to say that's part of the Victory name. My predecessor would say that's what we're winning. We're winning that challenge, and we're winning that game for people because we are trying to provide that affordability. This community would not have been possible without our partners, though. So we had Brinshaw, Bank of America CDC, 2 very high capacity partners working with us, all of us focusing on our strengths to bring this together. So it's possible. Sometimes people are like, that's the need, what's the challenge? I actually think that these types of mixed income, mixed tenure communities are not just the challenge, they're actually the answer to the problem. So none of this would be possible if it weren't for the federal and local resources to support that. One of Secretary Fudge from HUD, Mayor Bowser, these are leaders who recognize the challenges and have made historic investments to create more access for capital for communities like this. We could not, I will highlight, we could not have done the senior building, the Appleton. That could not have happened without the HUD 231 program. Almost $11 million from HUD helped that happen. And interestingly enough, COVID itself was an amazing challenge, but that was one, because of that program, that community, the construction was able to go forward in April 2020 at a time when many other projects had to stop, when things slowed down. We did have to sort of reposition our financing for the other communities, but I have to say thank you to HUD for that. And Mayor Bowser, your historic investments in the Housing Production Trust Fund cannot be understated. I think that with the housing goals that you've set, the stretch housing goals, as well as the tools that you've put in place, you're showing both the idealism and the practicality to actually solve this issue. So now I have the honor of introducing one of our partners in the fight to ensure that we have the resources, Deputy Mayor John Falchecchio. John, had the pleasure of working with him before as well, I'd like to say that, but just really appreciate all the work you've done and happy to welcome you to the stage to take on over.
Thank you, Layla. Let's hear it for Layla. So what Layla described to you is we're literally surrounded by a continuum of housing, right? If you think about it, behind you right now are rental units, of which 57 of the 87 are affordable, so that our families can live here and start here. And then when they're ready to buy a home, there's townhomes right here. 10 townhomes, 3 of which are affordable. And then when they get a little bit older and maybe want to downsize a little bit, there's senior housing. So what Mayor Bowser has tasked DemPed with doing, and our housing agency partners, is to figure out how we create that continuum of housing and do it at affordable levels so that all of our residents can live here. So Mayor Bowser, here's where we are on that 36,000 goal by 2025. Mayor Bowser sent this in 2019 and said that we as a city are going to make sure that housing production is one of the ways that we get at housing affordability. So since 2019, we've actually built 21,915 homes in the District of Columbia. Give yourselves a round of applause. And within that, there's a sub-goal of 12,000 units of affordable housing. And since 2019, we've built 4,165 affordable homes. So give yourselves a round of applause for that. And so this didn't just happen by magic. It took a lot of intentionality, it took a lot of planning, but it took some real investment. So as you know, Mayor Bowser committed on day one, or actually before day one, to $100 million in the Housing Production Trust Fund. And she did that each and every year until we got to this pandemic time. And we actually have been at Spring Flats a few times now. One of the times was actually right out on the corner when the mayor announced that we wouldn't do $100 million of affordable housing investment in the Housing Production Trust Fund, but we would actually invest over 2 years $400 million, right? Think about that, $400 million. So bringing the total to over $1 billion in her time in office. But she didn't stop there. In the most recent budget, Mayor Bowser proposed an additional $500 million in the Housing Production Trust Fund in 1 year. I see Drew Hubbard shaking his head. He's our Director of Housing Community Development and makes sure that money gets invested in our residents. So that actually passed through the council. And I see the at-large council member for housing, Anita Bonds, here. $444 million is going to be available just next year alone in the Housing Production Trust Fund. That means that overall, the time that Mayor Bowser was in office, there was $1,444 million in the Housing Production Trust Fund. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. So Secretary Fudge knows we don't do this alone. We do this with our partners in the federal government. So this project, as an example, there's $14.7 million of Housing Production Trust Fund dollars in this project. There's also about $11 million of HUD funding in this project, a total project of about $60 million. So you see how we couple sources of funding from different places, from the district taxpayers, and from those federal taxpayers as well, to make sure that we could build this continuum of housing. So with that, that's where we are. That's how this project fits into everything that we're doing. But let's hear a little bit more from folks who know a little bit more about what this project means to them. And that's 2 residents who live here at Spring Flats. And that's Joanne Helmsley and Lisa Perry. Let's have them come up and let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you for welcoming us to your home. And they're going to bring up a special guest. Nice to see you
guys. Yes, my name is Joanne Helmsley, and it's an honor to meet Mayor Bowser. Nice to meet you and your crew. I wanted to say about the Appleton, it's a beautiful building, and the decor and the design for senior citizens is perfect. Perfect. And the Mrs. Mack, who first rented us the apartment, she was so beautiful to us. We was the first to see the apartment. She showed us around and let us pick our own apartment. And it was beautiful. Clean, beautiful, beautifully designed. The cabinets, the floors. It smelled like fresh paint when we got it. It was so beautiful. But I'd like to thank Mrs. Mack for her kindness and allowing us to pick our own. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. I'm in harmony with you. My name is Lisa Perry. Along with my husband, George, we're in the senior building at the Appleton at Spring Flats. And I must say, I'm in agreement with Joanne. It is a blessing to be here to speak in behalf of the building. Also, I too, when we met Miss Kiana Mack at Victory Heights, we said, I looked at George, I said, you know what? She is such a breath of fresh air. I said, we're going to do fine with her, you know. I said, she is such a breath of fresh air. So also I like to say that the accommodations, the architectural, the way it's made, the floors, the cabinets, everything. I mean, we hadn't had central air, so now we do. So it's beautiful. We're just so happy. We appreciate you, Mayor Bowser, for undergoing, along with your team, these projects all over the city. And the money, wow, that was being used. This is really, really nice. And again, I thank you. Yes.
Well, let's hear it for the residents of the Appleton. Well, you heard it, Secretary. The accommodations, the art, the central air, the joint facility. But what really warmed me was your stories of Miss Mack, other people recognizing that their job is to be welcoming and to help you find your home right here in Ward 4 in Washington, D.C., the best city in the world. I did that for my friend from Ohio. I also want to recognize Councilmember Anita Bonds. Anita, stand up because we have been able to do so much in housing because of her leadership. I was on the council, so I know what it's like when there's a big bucket of money and a lot of priorities from around the city. A lot of people are arguing to get their priority funded. But council member, the ability to be able to protect $100 million each and every year, $400 million 2 years ago, and $500 million this year is a feat. And it's more than just dollars, because sometimes when you talk about dollars, you get lost. It's about people. You heard about 3 people who have been able to find safe, quality, and affordable housing. One, maybe 2 blocks from the metro, 1 block from a park, a short distance from a grocery store, and that's what we want to be able to deliver across all 8 wards. So you heard John talk about our goal. We're proud that we challenged the region, Madam Secretary, to make sure that all of us are doing what we need to do to make this region in Washington, D.C. more affordable. I challenged them at our Regional Council of Governments to do what we did, set a goal. Our goal is 36,000 by 2025, and we have a affordability goal within that goal. And when we all do that in a dynamic city, in a dynamic region like ours, we can make housing more affordable for more people. So we know we can count on President Biden and Secretary Fudge to provide new incentives to help us with additional tools to make housing more affordable. I'm proud that I believe I have funded the largest housing production trust fund anywhere in the United States of America. And you heard what it means to projects like this. We set a goal to work with lots of faith communities. The Archdiocese was the selected, the Victory Housing associated with the Archdiocese was the selector developer for this project. But we also have supported faith communities like Emory, Beacon of the Emory Beacon, which is just a little couple miles up Georgia Avenue, that is also providing deeply affordable housing. We're providing deeply affordable housing for seniors at Walter Reed, also just a few miles up here in Ward 4, where we're delivering 54 assisted living units this summer using a combination of tax credits, local funds, and Medicare support. At St. Elizabeth's campus in Ward 8, we are adding 202 new affordable rental homes, again using our trust funds, combined with low income tax credits. And using one of our newest tools, tax abatement to incentivize affordable housing in existing high opportunity neighborhoods. We've already received proposals that can add over 300 new affordable homes in neighborhoods like Capitol Hill and Rock Creek West, where we haven't made investments in affordable housing to date. It's because in addition to building more, we're also intentional about where we build. Like John mentioned, in 2019, we set big housing goals, but we set it for each neighborhood. Sometimes we hear from neighbors that all of our affordable or incentivized units are in one neighborhood. They should be in every neighborhood in Washington, D.C. So what I tell my team, without a goal, without a roadmap, you'll never get there. And that's why we've done it for every planning area. You know my story about home ownership. I tell it often. I was able to buy as a 20-something a great house for $125,000 in a good neighborhood that just keeps getting better. And that investment has allowed me to make decisions in my life that, you know, I always have a house. I always have a home. And it's only built in value. And so that is even going to make me to make, you know, daring decisions for my daughter and my own family. And so that's why, and I'm grateful to the council for approving our $10 million Black Home Ownership Fund for Washingtonians. I'm grateful that we've been able to increase the maximum down payment assistance for first-time home buyers from $80,000, council member, to $202,000. And if for us to keep doing bold, big stuff, Madam Secretary, we know we can count on you. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mayor, Congresswoman, and Secretary Marcia Fudge.
You're welcome.
I know the mayor's hot, so I won't be long. She already warned me, it better not be too long. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I am excited about what is going on today, not just here, but all across this country, because today, June 1st, is a HUD Day of Action. You know, I was so taken by how excited you are about living in this place, a place you now call home. Every single American should have a place to call home. And so today, I'm here to tell you that HUD is going to find a way for all of us, every single one of us, to find our way home. So today, we are announcing a new initiative called Our Way Home. I want to thank you, Mayor, for this is an outstanding partnership. When we all work together, there is nothing we can't accomplish. When you have the federal government, when you have the tools from HUD, when you have the tools from local communities, and when you have, and the mayor said this word, an intentional desire, a commitment to make things happen, we make things happen. So, Mayor, again, thank you. I want to talk I'm not going to talk about this great place because everybody's done that. What I want to tell you is that HUD is going to do everything we possibly can to provide the tools for this kind of a community to be built all over this country. We have it. We know how to use it. Councilwoman, I'm so pleased to be with you today because I know how much time you put into housing. Today, we are spread out across the country. We're in Boise, Idaho. We're in Albuquerque, Omaha, Nebraska, Birmingham, Alabama, Wilmington, Delaware. We are all over the country today to talk about how we find our way home. You know, I'm one of these kids, kind of a church kid, Mayor. And the Bible tells us this. To everything there's a season and a time for every purpose under the heaven. A time to tear down and a time to build up. This is our time to build up, to make America the nation it ought to be. And the only way we do that is to continue to do this work. We know that this nation has a crisis in affordable housing. We are short, by the smallest estimate, about 1.5 million homes that we need to build so that people can live in decent, affordable, resilient housing. This is the beginning of what we believe is going to be supportive of the President's action plan as he brings more supply to the market. So I'm just here to say not only well done, but to say, call on us. We are ready for the challenge. We have a team that is outstanding. We have more money than we probably will ever have again. So use it now while we have it. Use it now while we have it, because I promise you, it will not be here long. If you have any questions about what we're doing, I want you to go to hud.gov/ourwayhome, because today we are making a way for every single American to find our way home. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll take press questions, and we can take a couple community questions. Yes.
Mayor Bowser,
Yes.
Thank you. You mentioned the Rock Creek West plan
Yeah.
in your remarks, and I have a question specific to that and rent stabilization. In the Rock Creek West plan, it calls for converting what are now rent-stabilized units and buildings into affordable housing. And I'm just wondering, what is your commitment to preserving rent-stabilized housing, rent-stabilized units as you go about creating affordable housing? What is your commitment to maintaining the rent-stabilized units that are currently existing?
You're talking about rent-controlled units? Okay, and so the council has recently extended rent control in the District of Columbia, and we're certainly going to be, I'm supportive of what they did, and we're going to continue to follow that law. I think you have a 5 or 10 year extension for rent-controlled units.
The Rock Creek West plan, what that calls for is converting some of the buildings that are currently under rent control and relieving them of that rent control regulation and allowing them to raise the rents at market rate, although for affordable housing, which would then be subsidized through the city. So it would diminish the number, if it's implemented, it would diminish the number of rent-controlled units. And do you support that? Do you support?
I would have to. I'm going to go back and look at what's in the plan, Mark. We support creating more affordable housing units across the entire income spectrum. So we won't go back and forth right now about how many of the rent-controlled units are for people who have incomes that are below the AMI, because we simply don't know that. But we will continue to work on the plan. I'll go back and look at that specific clause. Sure.
Do you believe that rent control is part of affordable housing, or do you think they're separate from one another?
It is part of it. In fact, a few years back, Councilmember Bonds served on a strike force that I created about rental affordability in the District of Columbia. They came out with a number of recommendations, including looking at rent control. One of the big things that everybody is calling for is a inventory of where all of our units are, and that is something as a city we continue to work on.
Hey, Mayor Bowser,
Hi.
You mentioned the budget investment for black home ownership. What's
Yep.
the status of that task force at this point? Who are you thinking about being on it? When will they convene?
Yes, so I am looking at a number of recommendations from my appointments office, and people have put their names forward. And we are making sure that industry and community and home ownership and finance are represented on the strike force. I expect for them to meet throughout the summer. My hope is that they can deliver recommendations so that on October 1st, when those budget funds are available, we will be able to launch the program. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank you, Madam Secretary, for visiting with us. Council member, thank you, and thank you, everybody.